Hi everybody, Eric Mall here to talk through the music for the Ridgefield Symphony Orchestra's concert on December 6th at N.S. Richardson Auditorium at Ridgefield High School, 7:30. The title of this concert is Defiance. And we're going to be able to find that idea of defiance in a lot of different forms and how it comes up in all these different pieces of music, which are kind of, I like this program a lot because a lot of the music that we'll be performing is disparately different from each other. We have a Mexican composer, we have an Italian-American composer, we have a French composer, and we have a German composer. You know, and they're writing in different forms, they're writing for different reasons, and they're using different harmonic language and all kinds of things. But so I think it's a really wonderful way to talk about, you know, not just how the individual from all over the world and through different cultures can find this idea of defiance and joy, you know, because really, to me, that's the ultimate idea of defiance, is finding joy in spite of, you know. Yeah, but also just the idea, the overarching idea as we explore what makes American music specifically, you know, American, and how all these different kind of cultures and ideas and musics and arts came together to kind of form what we now recognize as the American sound. It has a lot to do with all of these disparate things coming from all over the world. So sorry. So it's kind of, the concert in and of itself is an exercise in kind of just exploring that idea, you know, that there are all these different kinds of musics that are coming together to form something brand new, something that's really beautiful and really meaningful, and we can call American music. And one of the most important musics that helped us out, you know, we talked about fiddle music in the last concert, and we've been speaking a lot about spirituals and jazz and the kind of the evolution of all that music, and we'll certainly be spending a lot of time with that for the next concert. But Mexican music and South American music, Central American music as well, played a really, really big role in kind of becoming, you know, inserting its own flavors and styles and instruments and rhythms and all these different things into the music. You know, Bernstein used a lot of this kind of things, with so did so many other composers. Our first piece in the program is Huapango by Jose Pablo Moncayo, who is a Mexican composer. Huapango is a dance, traditionally done on a big wooden box, and you can find videos of this online. They're really, really wonderful, but there's lots of stomping going on, and it's very energized and very, you know, rich with rhythms and things like that. And that's the two things that I would really look out for in this. You know, when we're talking about Central American, South American and Mexican music, there's so much rhythm. The rhythm is just, you know, so far beyond kind of what a lot of, you know, Western classical musicians have been experiencing. You know, and this piece, for example, is in 6/8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And there's, you know, when you have 6 beats to a measure, there are all kinds of ways that you can divide that beat, right? So you're going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4. Or you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3. All these different ways to do it. Some are a little bit awkward, some are not awkward at all, and they feel really good. But in this music, you will not only hear all of these rhythms at some point happening, but you'll hear them happening at the same time together, you know? And it's this kind of what we call polyrhythmic thing that gives a lot of music from all these countries its flavor, you know, and its distinctive style. And you'll certainly hear that in this music quite a lot, you know, with the guiros and the maracas and everything that we got. And not just wonderful melodies, you know, like, whoa, 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 whoa. That's the other thing to really listen for, is just how beautiful these melodies are. You know, it's just so much fun. And then again, with these rhythms, they're just so wonderful. And then these super easy, beautiful, floaty, again, dividing the measure into the interesting kind of rhythm. Just really, really kind of joyful, wonderful dance, like really moving forward. and it's seemingly really simple, but under the surface with all these rhythms are really, 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 really complex. So it's nothing but fun, a wonderful dance, like just very, very joyous. And I'm going to find this one other melody that I love so very much. Where could it be? Bum, 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 bee, bum, bum. It's just, there's so much joy to it, you know, and in that kind of, you know, sheer, unadulterated joy, I think comes a real sense of defiance in this first piece of music. It's also just so much fun, and it really shows off our percussion section, our brass section, really everybody. But I think you'll really enjoy that piece quite a lot. This next piece, with the fabulous violin soloist Abreu Liberson, who joined us a few years ago to great acclaim. She'll be joining us again to perform Viaggio di Enea by Salvatore di Vittorio. Viaggio di Enea, the voyage of Aeneas, you know, made famous by, you know, the Trojan hero turned eventual, you know, he was one of the first people to start the lineage that led to Romulus and Remus, which led to the founding of Rome. So a very important character, as shown by, you know, Purcell's opera Dido and Aeneas, by Virgil's the Aeneid, you know, etc., etc. He makes appearances, and I believe the Odyssey and the Iliad, certainly the Iliad. So it's the story. This whole thing is his story. You know, from where is we start in Troy, and then we go to Greece, and then we go to Carthage, and then we end up in Sicily and Rome. So it follows his journey, and it starts kind of what I think is this kind of very mythic. It's a great way to start this mythic beginning. And then it's kind of like just really interesting, kind of like, oh, what's happening, right? So a great beginning of the journey, right? But then shortly thereafter, it's kind of this wonderful kind of introduction that just sets the scene. But then he introduces Aeneas' theme. I got it. Right here. And that theme, you know, Vittorio uses it throughout all of the movements and the entirety of the piece to kind of, you know, show that this is the character. You know, we can really identify that melody with the character Aeneas. And we can follow that character throughout the entirety of the symphony. When we talk about defiance, you know, he traveled from, that first movement is Troy. You know, that's where he starts from. And then the second movement, I missed it. The second movement is this wonderful, it's the ball, the dance. Yeah, the dance of the muses. And now all of a sudden we're in Greek, you know, in Greece. And, you know, it's very much, you know, just a ba-ba-ba-ba, you know, ba-ba-da-da, and wonderful. You know, just really kind of, you know, romantic, you know, dance-like and really wonderful with some beautiful, slower, kind of intimate moments in it. And again, that theme comes back certainly in this movement and everywhere else. And we're following him from Troy to Greece, and then we go to the third movement, which is Canto d'amore nei didone, which is the Dido and Aeneas' love song. And, you know, as I mentioned earlier, Purcell wrote a very famous opera. It's, you know, very important in kind of the evolution of operas, certainly, but music too, about Dido and Aeneas. So this isn't the first time, and this is kind of, it's very, if you know Mahler's Fifth Symphony, the fourth movement of that, which is just strings and harp, it's kind of reminiscent of that. There's the theme again. somber representation of our hero here. But the final movement, you know, and so this to me is, you know, the kind of, you know, he's in Carthage. This is Carthage now. You know, a moment where he's a little bit more internal. He has to think about things. Maybe he's struggling with something. But at the end, he's a Tarantella. Now all of a sudden he's in Sicily and Rome. And Tarantella, you know, just your typical kind of very fast, very virtuoso. Super exciting, really fun. And it's kind of almost motuo perpetuoso for quite some time, until the very end, where of course this gorgeous theme comes back in a really powerful big way. We can see, you know, what I really like about this piece is being able to so easily and readily be able to identify the character, you know, both the literal character and the metaphorical character, and being able to follow that character's journey from, you know, this very beginning introduction. You know, it's almost nostalgic and almost just like everything's totally fine, you know, to something a little bit more. Inward, maybe a little bit more worrisome, and some really dark moments, and all of a sudden we end in, you know, great glory, you know. So it's a really great example of that kind of romantic ideal and narrative of being able to find oneself, find one's joy, and, you know, have the defiance, be defiant enough to find that joy, you know. So it's a wonderful piece. You know, the Saint-Saëns as well that Aubrey will be playing is, you know, one of the great showpieces of violin virtuosity. So of course we're going to enjoy that so much. The Brahms, there's a lot to say about, so I'm going to do that in a separate video so these don't get too terribly long, but stay tuned for that, and please do come to the concert. Again, that's December 6th. Be there.